Episode 8. Bridging the Gap. Back in action. Man, you said don't put the people on a pedestal, huh? Woo.
Should you?
Of course not, right?
But some people do.
Hey, man. Shout out to J.R. Smith for getting a 4.0 this semester in college, man. I know that's hard. Man. What was your highest GPA in college?
We'll talk about that next episode.
Oh, man. BTG, what's up, man? BTG Nation. That's our new community name, BTG Nation. What's up, guys? Episode 8. You know what it is, the youngest OG over here. I probably got one more. I got a few more months before I can stop saying that. When the birthday comes and I leave the 20s, then I'm just, creeping up.
Nah.
I got a little more time?
You got a lot of time.
Yeah. Thank God for that. I'm here, Ryan Yates, with my OG, Drew Pac, JK. I won't get into the rest of them. Julian King. You know where we at, live from the safest country in the world, the best weather in the world right now. If you ask me, Dubai. You know where we are. We are the leaders of the Hoop Mountain Dubai brand, which right now we're in the middle. When this episode comes out, our camp will be over. Our holiday camp, our all sports camp. Man, talk about it. This has been really good too.
This is just what we needed right before the end, because we've been working so hard, and now we get a chance to have some fun. It's still work, but it's fun.
Yes, and as you guys know, especially our players, parents, and anybody that knows us individually, when it's time to work basketball-wise, we're in the gym, we go hard. Go as hard as we can. We work. And so these kids here, they're getting a whole new level of discipline. So since August, we've been rocking them. So now, they get a chance to see another side of us, a lot more fun. And it has been a joy to watch. Those loud screams of happiness has been fulfilling.
Yeah, just the way camp ends every day with the parents getting a chance to observe for themselves.
Yes.
That tells a story.
And Abdullah, our guy from Collective, his daughter has been with us, right? She's been with us for a few days, and we've always get the same thing. Like, parents don't expect their kids to enjoy just because of, prior moments. But we always tell them, don't worry, we got you. But, of course, we hear that all the time. It's whatever. My kid is a handful. But, you just got to fill them out for a little bit.
Yeah, just give us a chance and then leave them.
Yeah, just leave them. We'll give you a little break, So shout out to HMD going into the new year, because this is the last episode before 2022. Going into the new year, we'll have some new things coming for you guys. We're excited. We're growing. Let's give ourselves a round of applause for the way we finished the quarter. So the way we finished this year, we like the small wins. Coach King's always talking about one step at a time. Sometimes in business you can look too far ahead based on projections and everything else, but you got to stay within the moment. And, we got a small win, right? Covered all expenses. Everything paid on time. With a little bit extra to spare.
Yeah, still gaining some.
And still gaining some. So with just a two-man army, that is a victory.
Sure.
A victory.
For sure.
All right.
Coming out of a pandemic. Well, still in a pandemic, but coming out of the worst part of it, so
starting a business and a people's business. So shout out to us, man. Good work. With that being said, any type of reflections you got on the new year, or just 2021 period, as we go into 2022, when it's released, it'll be a new season, new year.
Ooh, just
we want to come back to it. You want to think about it and get back to it?
No, I know already.
You already got it?
Yeah, it's just.
I know it's so much.
So much has happened. It's it put me back in the perspective of sometimes you just got to put your head down and work. There were so many nights, so many days, so many hours, minutes, seconds that we were only focused on the company, but that's what we needed to do. If we didn't do that, this will be our last episode, period.
Right? that lock-in factor. And I'd equate it to when you get to a certain time in the season, right? After that first half, after All-Star break in the NBA, after winter break and Christmas break in college, and then in high school after winter break as well, it's time to lock in. Your coach tell you, look, sacrifice, no partying, no wild food, get your sleep. You got to lock in for these next 2 months so we can accomplish your goals. We've been doing that all our life as hoopers. So when we looked at each other and he was like, man, look, it's tight right now. There's only one way we're going to get out of here. It sounded familiar.
Right.
It sounded familiar. So that's another lesson we want all of our hoop stars and stuff to learn too. So for anybody that's in Dubai, our academy, our brand is Hoop Mountain Dubai, Hoop Mountain DXB on Instagram, hoopmountain.ae online. And we're also on Facebook as Hoop Mountain Dubai. So you can find us, check us out, look us up, come interact. We are sure you would love to join the family. So check in. NBA. Interesting times, man. I want to start off by saying KD, he just dropped 51. The season high scoring in the NBA, just broke Steph's record, with 50 the other day. I'm just saying, you talked about, it's only first quarter of the season. I think that guy got a lot left in the tank. I think he got a whole lot left in the tank. And talk about spectacular. When KD gets going, it's nothing like it. That's still my MVP front runner.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, who's top three? Him, Steph. Who's third?
They'll find a way to throw Giannis in there. I think Chris Paul. I'm gonna think Chris Paul. I still think Joker has to be in that conversation all the time, right? A healthy Embiid, who, if he can stay healthy for the the remainder of the season, that'll be interesting. But I think KD and Steph flip flop.
I recently heard a lot of slander going towards Chris Paul's way because there's people saying, well, he's only averaging 14, 15 points. They have no idea what the other intangibles he brings to the game because he's a winner. He's a leader.
Man, I'll let you. I'm about to look up the stats for Steve Nash when he won his MVP because I'm a Kobe. Kobe's my guy, and I think he took one from Shaq too. He wasn't leading scorer in the league.
No, not
even close. He might have averaged. Yeah, he averaged 18 and 8 when he won that year, 2005, 2006, and that was the year Kobe took Smush Parker and Kwame Brown and all of those guys to.
That was highway robbery that year.
Yeah,
the other one I think he could have gotten.
Yeah.
I was okay with that.
Yeah,
but
the first
that one, yeah, that's highway robbery.
I mean, you talk about now people putting slander on Chris Paul. And Steve Nash is the same thing,
but
with more talent in the same place.
The Suns were box office. See, they're just a bunch of guys. They just come to work now.
Yeah,
they don't really. They got booked. He's a star, but he ain't. They're
Amari, not Amari.
Yeah, he ain't those dudes that Steve Nash was throwing lobs to and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like you would watch them because they might score 130 tonight.
Mm-hmm.
This team is just grit and grind right here. Just get down and get dirty.
Yeah, and for real hoopers, that makes even more of a case for Chris Paul.
Right.
He don't have a Q Rich. He don't have a Matrix. Right. You don't have a Rajah Bell.
You got a bunch of youngins.
You got a bunch of youngins. Yeah. And he took them to the finals last year with that.
You got a bunch of youngins and a journeyman in Crowder.
Yep.
And Chris Paul's old.
Mm-hmm.
Not no disrespect to him, but he is
seasoned. He's a vet.
He's been there a long time, and he's a little dude.
Right. He was with the Pelicans when they were in New Orleans and OKC. Right? Was the Hornets too. So that's love. But KD, man, you keep rocking because we over here, we with you for sure. Curry chasing his all-time 3-ball record. He struggled a couple nights ago against Philly, but he got New York coming up, and I'm sure he'll get that. By the time this comes out, I'm sure he would have already have gotten it. So let's say our congrats now to the greatest shooter of all time. We're gonna cash drop, yeah, because you are who you are, and now you have the record to say so. But it's interesting. It's a different period. I just wonder, What will Reggie and them do if they can shoot 20?
You already know what I'm thinking.
Right? What you thinking?
Reggie and Bird and those guys.
Yeah.
Trust me, that record would be. He wouldn't be that close to it right now. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, he need a little bit more time. Probably still break it. Well, he need a little bit more time.
We're talking about guys 6'7" and 6'9" getting a chance to shoot that many.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's like if KD has such a arsenal, getting to the rack, mid range, long range. Just think if KD only shot threes.
Yeah.
He focused on first you can't contest it.
Yeah.
And then he's got a variety of moves to get separation, to get it off comfortably. I mean, he'll easily rock that.
Mm-hmm.
That you know.
I'm just, I think this is a great as far as entertainment value. It's going to be fun to watch. I just want to see about wins. I was recently, I saw somebody that I know, shout out to Jay Farrell, Javon. He played at UMass from the area. Big Curry fan.
Mm-hmm.
And matter of fact, let me see if I can pull up the tweet so I can be accurate, right? Let me see, because he's a Curry guy, and I saw him talking about the things the media doesn't do for Steph and everything else. So, all right,
that's a bold statement.
Yeah. So he said, remember when people were saying they don't know if Steph can be successful or lead a team without Clay? And I said, hey, it's just December. The greats are only judged on the playoffs, right? So he talked about he was successful last season without Clay, led the league in scoring, third in MVP voting, and first-time All-NBA. But as we say on the podcast, that's never the argument, right? The argument is the media, right? If you talk about Steph in comparison to the greatest of all time, right? Just like Kobe, MJ, Kareem, Magic, KD, LeBron. You don't talk to them about regular season. You don't say anything to them about regular season.
Yeah, because they're expected to do that in the regular season.
Right.
This is what they do in the playoffs. And for that comment on what they did last year, Golden State was not supposed to be bounced by Memphis.
No.
That's just bottom line,
With the greatest,
Yeah.
whatever else. You said some people say the best in basketball, and I always say, look, because it was also Perk saying, look, Game 7, Steph Curry showed up the other night. He wasn't here. And I always say, look, in the big games, he hasn't shown up. But the media never blows him up the way they do Bron or KD.
Just recently, the Lakers caught crazy heat because they lost to Memphis.
Right.
Crazy heat.
Right. And Memphis has been winning. Yeah. Memphis is solid.
So, if Golden State would have lost to someone else last year, a Denver, the Suns, we wouldn't have said anything. They lost to Memphis in the first round. That ain't supposed to happen.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. Your superstar, especially of his caliber, is supposed to get you out the first round. Unless, we talk about those L's Mike used to take in the first round, but he was getting beat by the Pistons.
And Celtics.
That's a different story. But we're talking about these teams now, you're supposed to get them out the first round. Yeah, especially if you got Draymond still with you, still got your coach.
But if you are the man they say you are, that's simple. The way they making it seem like the most revolutionary, the best player on the planet right now, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Okay, show me. But again, congrats, because you're going to knock it out the park. You are the greatest shooter ever, big dog. That's no question. More interesting thing, everybody wants to see that big guy down there in New Orleans play.
Your big guy is right.
Right. Well, I actually saw some recent pictures that made it look like the other stuff was Photoshop. Right? It was Photoshopped. But regardless, they're saying that Zion has been skipping out on workouts and falling asleep in film sessions. And just recently they said he had another setback, so he's out for the season.
Out for the season?
Yeah. Out for the season. They're gonna put him. He's not out because he won't be able to play later, but they're just gonna shut him down.
Mm. Who's coaching that team?
Willie Green. First year.
Sorry for you, Willie.
Yeah.
It set you up.
Right?
Set up. That's just, oh man. Who does the Pelicans have surrounding this young man to keep him on, straight and narrow? Because you got to have a team around you. You got to go to an organization that has things in place to help the young players. Because evidently he needs help with certain things.
Well, but what's on the other side? What if his guys are telling him, look, we got to get you out of here? What if they are looking out? Right? Could you see that as being a possibility to be like, nah, yo, you can't stay here. You can't. This will be wasting time. It don't look good for the for the brand or anything else.
Well, I mean, but in that case, you still play and you perform, but you let management know, like, hey, look, this is not somewhere for me. So now you at least have trade value. You know, what's going on now, you look like you're injury prone and, you know, they're not going to get any value back for you. You know?
Well, but you know, he can't be traded. So I think what's going to happen is if he doesn't play this year, and then he only has one more year left on his rookie contract, so he's just going to be a free agent.
Right, but I'm saying, but you still don't just because there will be questions about your health. So you still want to make sure that everybody knows you're healthy, because this is not a one-time situation. It's an ongoing situation ever since Duke. So
it'll be interesting. Yeah. I forgot about him. Another like Greg Oden type of feel, right? To where it's like, man, he's not even playing.
Greg Oden's different though.
Yeah,
that's something legit.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, this for sure. This guy, I mean, this is just a matter of watching how many burgers you eat.
Yeah, because it is a foot injury, right? And people have been talking about how much power his body has and landing on his feet with too much weight, and everybody thought it would be his knees that would go out first. Yeah, but you know, and speaking of, it's holiday season, right? So I'm looking at the NBA, and every day they're talking about there's new players and the protocol, safety and protocol rules or whatever it is. And it's like I'm seeing like it's like 7, 8 people a team.
Right.
They got to postpone games, like, and that's the holiday seasons. The holiday time is still here, and going into the new year, that's probably only going to increase.
Yeah, if it continues like this, they may have to lock it down again, or there will be no finals.
It's gonna be, but you know, it looks like everybody's recovering well though, and as Bron said, something's fishy. Some of those tests may not be right. They may be targeting. I saw T.J. McCollum say they may be targeting unvaccinated players. So it feels like to where a lot of them aren't, because I think the protocols are different if you have vaccine. It's a lot going on. Either way, I commend the NBA for being able to get through seasons during this time anyway.
Hey, I'm going to put it to you like this. You have a choice. Either you want to get the vaccine and play and get paid, or find another place to work.
For real.
Can't play overseas.
Yeah. Well, you know, they can.
They can't even travel without it.
True, but as you said, with the NBA, you got different resources.
Yeah, if you're going to get on that boat, on that cargo ship.
Yeah, right.
Take you 3 weeks to get to Europe.
On the barrel. That's funny.
So.
You know, Isaiah Thomas, who we just talked about a few episodes ago, he just got signed to the Nuggets G League team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's some big work right there, giving him a chance to get back in action. So keep pushing, IT. We believe in you, big dog. Just a couple more things before we get into the podcast topics today. One is what do we want to start? We want to start with Draymond or Lakers? Which one do you want to give us more for?
Go Draymond.
Draymond made a comment that he feels he's the best defender of this generation. I think when we talk about defense and people or spectators watching it, I feel like being able to understand it requires you to have a certain level of basketball IQ and playing experience. Because whatever he's explaining, you're not going to really understand or really think it has an impact on unless you've been in the fire, in the war, and understand, you know, how somebody like Draymond affects the game for everybody else.
People doubting that Draymond would be one of the top defenders just have no idea how he anchors the Golden State defense. He allows them to fly around and make those, you know, different coverages, and just because everyone knows he's got their back and he's directing everything, because everybody knows the guy in the back is the one the most vocal. We know he talks a lot, and he's putting people in their place, and he's anticipating the next pass. You know, he's 2 steps ahead, and he's just invaluable. He may not score a lot of points, but he will make sure the ball's, you know, getting to the right people, and he will make sure that the defense is holding ground.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't put a price on that. That's why he makes $80 million.
Yep. And he guards all 5.
Yep.
Right. You talk about playing small ball. He guards all 5, and guards them effectively too.
Right.
He talked about the fact that I can play on ball and off ball, and I can make all the reads that everybody else makes. Like, I don't know anybody in history that can do it as a complete whole the way I do it. You may got some guys who are great defensively on ball, but terrible off the ball, are not great communicators, or some people who are just tenacious rebounders and go get them. He said, I can do that too, and everything else. Like, how many other people can do that? That had me thinking, like, how many other people have a complete defensive package the way Draymond does? And you, Mike, can remind me better.
Honestly, I'd have to really, really search. I mean, I can't just think of anybody off the top of my head who does everything. You know, of course, you got guys like Pippen, great on-ball defender.
Mm-hmm.
Pippen ain't doing too much on the backside.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Without doing some deep research and searching for something, I'd go with him on that.
Yeah, and he just said in our generation, right? And I think in our generation by far, you know, that's accurate. Right?
Oh, for sure. In this generation, yeah, because not too many people stressing defense.
Yeah, and you think about the 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, nobody fears.
Who was that?
Mr. Gobert. Mr. Gobert, like, you know, and nobody. It's like mind-boggling to me. Like, nobody is worried about you. You're supposed to be a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, the man in the middle, the anchor, and everybody just like, oh, it's just so crazy.
For sure, nobody's supposed to be trying to run up on you and you know, flush one down the middle. They ain't supposed to be doing that.
Period. Yeah. In press conferences saying, like, we don't fear this, man. It's like, yo, where's the respect, man? Where's your respect, man? But we're going to see how that goes. Draymond, you will get the flowers you deserve. Probably won't be until after you retire, just because those two other stars shine so much brighter there. Yeah. But, you know, talk your talk, big dog.
Yeah, I don't think he cares.
He don't.
One, think about it, he came from Michigan State, blue collar player, came into the league, second round, you know, had to work his way into the rotation, got one bag, got his second bag, got multiple championships, Defensive Player of the Year awards.
All-Star.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Yeah, and he playing with house money.
Hall of Famer.
You know, talk your shit, Draymond. Interesting right here. They said Kyrie may return. Kyrie, he had a little video recently throwing out the basketball sneak like, yo, I might be back in action soon.
For the Nets.
Yeah, he might be back in Brooklyn soon. You know, they've been always talking about how in January a new mayor was going to come or something, and he might change the regulations for COVID in the city.
He made a public statement saying he wouldn't, but we all know there might be public pressure behind the scenes. So
for sure, but the most interesting thing I've seen is there's like a vegan vaccine coming that he might take. They said it's plant-based. Go ahead and say what you want to say, man. They said it's a vegan. My boy sent it to me. He said, yo, it's a plant-based vaccine that is going to come out, and he could possibly consider taking it. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, we need somebody to call in.
Man,
explain that to me.
Word, like a plant-based, like it's like Beyond Burgers. Like you got the Beyond Burger vaccine, and I don't know how that go. I
hope he can take it, and
hope
they accept it, because
I miss it, Kyrie.
Play.
Oh man, I miss it. I just seen some clips of him and Brian when they were doing that 2-step in the finals, in 40 apiece.
That was crazy.
Man, Kyrie, we missed that show, man. And nobody put on a better show, you know. Nobody. But, you know, we always have a Laker check-in. Always. So right now, they said internally the Lakers have been discussing a trade for Russ because the trio hasn't been working the way they thought it would work. Right? And, of course, you know Ben Simmons is on the market, and there are like 7 teams that want him. Knicks, Timberwolves, Blazers, a bunch of people. The Lakers are one of them. And the Lakers are also apparently interested in Jeremy Grant. I just want to get your reflect. Everybody knows how I feel about the Lake Show and what's going on. And you've been vocal about what you think the struggles are and things, but with these possible trade scenarios, maybe a Ben Simmons, maybe a Jeremy Grant, I don't know if it's feasible, but do you think, would you pull the trigger on any of those?
What is Ben Simmons going to bring to the Lakers that Russ isn't bringing, except maybe a little more defense? But he can't shoot, won't shoot, and so therefore they're just going to sag off of him and help on others. So that's not going to help. Jeremy Grant would probably be okay. But honestly speaking, Russ is getting screwed. And because it's AD's fault. AD makes all those problems go away. You know, and this is his fault. You know, it's not a Russ problem because he's doing exactly what we thought he would do.
True.
You know, play hard. He's going to be really good some nights, and then he's going to have some moments where he's really bad. But his good outweighs the bad, and he needs time to adjust. He just got there.
True.
You know, and I mean, and the lineup's always changing. A lot of cats have been hurt. And again, AD hadn't been, when AD is playing, he ain't been an alpha.
Not even close.
So I mean, that's just,
you know, and again, I just got a notification that said that the Nets are open to a Kyrie Irving trade. That's what just jumped open for me too. I don't know.
What if Kyrie went to LA?
That's what I'm looking at. But then the NBA is great with storylines. Yeah. So like I talked to her earlier. I would like to see, you know, John Wall in Brooklyn, right? But let's say for some odd reason, Russ ends up back with KD and Harden.
That'd be crazy.
That'd be insane. This is not us saying it should happen or we want it to happen, but like the NBA with storylines is just unbelievable, right? I remember that last picture of the three of them standing watching the Miami Heat about to celebrate and win, and how they were all so young. And now they all three of them won an MVP.
That's right. Yeah.
All three of them won an MVP. All of them went in their own direction. All three of them are Hall of Famers. And now at the tail end, they come back. And in Brooklyn,
OKC, stop being cheap.
OKC is done forever, but that'll be interesting to see. I don't know. We got to make an adjustment before the trade deadline. I don't know if it's a big trade like Russ, but our biggest issue is defense. I don't know if it's a trade. I don't know if it's a new hire at coach.
Right, but
we just gotta shift. Like we're at the bottom defensively in the league. Like we literally play no defense, and we got AD.
They were playing better the other night. I would say that. One guy is not going to change the entire outlook of the team's defense. I mean, honestly speaking, you know what I think it is. I think they need a different voice, different motivation, you know, and just different mindset. I don't think getting rid of Russ is going to cure that problem. Because like I said, I did see them getting after it a little bit more. But why were they getting after it? Because LeBron was back.
Right.
You know, and he's skating out there a little bit, so everybody else picked it up. But it can't come from him being 37 years old.
Yeah, even though he just won Player of the Week too in the Western Conference. He looking crazy. Like he gonna be ready when his son get into the league. But it's interesting. Like you said, sometimes a different voice, and everybody talks about the old geezers and the old guys. Those are also decorated guys. Guys to where like you can't fake the funk in front of them. So you're right. Maybe Vogel is the issue to where we can't connect with this dude. He not here. Like I'm not listening to him. Like there's no reason for that.
Just all right. Name one time where you've seen any emotion out of Frank.
Right. You know, yeah, he applauded himself the other day because he did in the locker room.
You know, you may need somebody to go in there and tell some of those vets really how it is.
Yeah.
You know, somebody they respect, just to give them a different outlook on how they should approach the game.
Yeah.
Because even with, all right, let's just say this: AD needs somebody to light a fire under his ass.
Right.
Bottom line, somebody needs to tell him, look, man, LeBron ain't supposed to be number one every night.
And for sure.
It's supposed to be you.
For sure.
You, LeBron, then Russ.
For sure.
Every night. And AD, we go as far as you take us, man.
All right, King. Live on air, right? Georgia Southern women just played college basketball Division I. They just played Carver
Saw that.
College.
Saw that.
The score I'm about to say is not made up, right? The score was 133-15.
Yep. Disgusting. I saw it. I didn't even want to bring it up. I'm disgusted. Their coach should be fired.
Which one?
Georgia Southern.
The one that ran it up?
Yep.
Really?
Yep. Because everybody knows that in the U.S., probably worldwide, there's a shortage of women's basketball players participating on the high school level. So you think about it. For NCAA Division I women's basketball teams, over the past 30 years, the top 20, top 25 has been basically the same the entire time. It's like the same teams because there's not enough talent to spread around like the men's team. And so you know that you don't even know where Carver is.
No, I don't.
Right.
I don't. Is it like George Washington Carver with peanut butter?
I have no idea. You know what I'm saying? So you think about it, and that's Georgia Southern. They ain't no powerhouse, and they're running up the score. So you can imagine. No disrespect to Carver, but they were just outgunned.
King, the worst part is that's only the second largest win margin in D1 women's basketball. You know, they won by 118 points.
Come on, man. You should be fired.
I mean, I'm saying some people say they should have won by 200. That is a lot of. That's a lot. 133-15.
Like, you got to have a little more respect for the game because you understand what the problem is for women's basketball. You're trying to grow the game for women's basketball. That's hurting the game.
True.
Because people are going to say, yeah, there's no point in playing. We don't have a chance. You know, I'm just not.
And that's real.
Yeah, they can't
real.
do that, man.
That's real.
Yeah.
That's 118. That's a lot of points.
Yeah.
Like in the difference between like I've been on the side of some lopsided wins before and like AAU as a youngin. Well, woo.
Not that.
Yeah, that's tough. And like you said, we're trying to get more women to play because basketball is inclusive, but that'll keep me away too, damn. Talk about coaching.
Yeah.
Right?
Man, we got to look up what league they play in because this could kill their morale for the rest of the year.
I think they might be, I'm sure they're probably D3. Carver College women's basketball. Man. What's the worst loss you've ever been on the other side of?
Playing, let's see. Probably a 50-piece. Probably a 50-piece, yep. And
in high school or coaching?
No, nothing in high school like that. Coaching, prep school, definitely 50. Like I think it was like maybe 60. Some team in Pennsylvania. What's his name, son? Billy Owens' son played on a team in Pennsylvania. The great Billy Owens from Syracuse, and his son. They smacked us.
Didn't LaMelo and them smack you up too when you were coaching?
It wasn't like that. He didn't play that night, but it wasn't like that. It was bad. This was crazy. This was worse.
Oh, this Carver College is like, they're like the National Christian.
All right, there you go. Stop. Stop. When you say national, if you ain't Baylor or Notre Dame, stop. Come on, man.
Hey, come on, man.
Georgia Southern, you should be it's like Georgia Southern playing the next night. Say they're going to play South Carolina. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Roles are going to be reversed. Like you got to have some respect for the game, man.
No, listen, man. They whooped up on them people. It was no good, man.
That's like those high school scores you see all the time. You know, high school, girls. Somebody went beating somebody by 95 and all that. Come on, man.
Man,
you're ruining the game.
Yeah, it's nasty. It's nasty. So we're gonna take it maybe a little bit more lighthearted or more life experience. Look at OG face.
Kind of person. Come on, man.
Hey, man.
The reason I'm pissed is because I coached CYO one year.
What's that?
It's like the Youth Christian League.
I thought it was Catholic.
It's Catholic. I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't know.
And so, all the coaches are coaching for free. So I literally had practice on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. with third and fourth graders.
8 a.m.
8 a.m. Yeah, that's the only time we get the gym, right? Free. I'm coaching for free, right? We have maybe 7 players show up for practice consistently. For the games, could have 7, could have 11. You never know, right? So there's levels: A team, B team, C team. We're C team because our kids are like beginners. They just want to play. The Catholic side in you is supposed to say we're going to play by the rules in terms of putting teams in each level that are appropriate for their skill level. We played a team, man. They were pressing us the entire game, even after they were up 35-40 in the first half. I'm sitting there like, man, what? First of all, those aren't C players; those are A players,
Right?
So now I'm looking at the coach. I'm like, okay,
You ready to fight?
yeah, I'm ready to fight. I walk over at halftime. I said, yo, can you call off the dogs? Like, you guys clearly are the better team. You clearly going to win the game. Go zone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Let us get the ball up the court, get a few shot attempts. Whatever happens, happens. And he said, we're trying to get ready. Get ready for what? You're playing on the C level. So if you're trying to get ready for like some type of weekend tournament or something like that for your travel team, that means you got your kids on the wrong level.
Right.
And so, I approached him after the game. I had a couple of parents that know him personally. And I went and I said, if you know him personally, what kind of friend is he?
Yeah.
If he's going to run up the score on your kids like that, knowing your kids aren't basketball players.
Yeah.
And I barked on him out there. Everybody said, calm down, coach. I said, shut up.
Jukepok, ladies and gentlemen. It gets like that sometimes.
What the hell is wrong with you running up the score on these kids? They're just playing for fun.
No, that's
your kids
real.
are practicing 4 times a week. You know what I'm saying? And your kids play on, really good AAU teams and stuff. This is crazy.
No, that's
So I called into the league and all that, cursed them out too. Yeah. I ain't get a chance to coach again next year.
I'm about to say.
But
that's a wrap.
Yeah, man.
That. It's all good though. But you gotta have somebody fighting the battle for the kids like
man.
that. You gotta help the helpless sometimes. So we're gonna get it back into last episode. We talked about business.
Yep.
Getting into those other things, and we wanted to start to show more dimensions of us because this is our outlet just to talk and share information and things. So going into the new year, we're gonna call it story time or just a coach's corner where we sit and just talk and reflect on our lives and what's going on, because we've also been a little bit slow with the podcast a little bit too, with some things coming out just because life has been happening.
Yep.
It's cool to share those journeys because part of bridging the gap is allowing people to get an inside look on things that back in the day would be you sitting on the porch with your uncle or your grandfather or whatever, and they're kind of giving you life lessons and helping you guide through things if you're fortunate enough to have that. And we've had like 2 or 3 generations where that skipped.
Yeah.
And it's looking like it's kind of non-existent now. So with people consuming media so much, we're going to come and we're going to drop that in the bucket for at least somebody. So we're going to talk a little bit about, I just had a big life event, big to some, minor to others. But, I got some new jewelry on my finger over here. So I give myself, I know you don't know the button, so I give myself that.
That was a loud and long applause.
Yeah, I needed it. I don't think I deserved it. So on my IG page and some other stuff, you see I recently proposed and got married and had my nikah ceremony, which is the Islamic ceremony to validate your union under the guise of Islam. It's been a while, and I guess I don't know how to start it because I'm talking about me, right? But you've been able to watch everything from the beginning to the end, and you're kind of like telling the story to my mom's and Jameson on the back end through your guys and the way that you see it. But I made a decision that I told my mom, my family, like, this is the biggest decision I've ever made leading up to this point, right? The first one was which college I was going to go to, right? And unlike the other one, I felt like this was a no-brainer. This was an easy one for me in regards to the person, my wife to be. It was easy in that space. But there were internal issues, internal things that, I needed to figure out that made it tough to like, I was like, oh, damn, I'm here.
So give me an example of one of those internal issues that was holding you back.
Well, I don't want to say holding it back, because again, I never questioned her, like whether or not I wanted to be with her.
Yeah, we know it's not on. We know it's not on. It's never.
I gotta make that clear though.
It's never on a good woman.
Yeah,
it's always on the guys.
Yeah,
especially a guy that's a good guy, semi-popular guy. You know what I'm saying? And a hooper.
Yeah,
it's always on you, because you don't want to feel like you're boxed in.
Man.
Whatever happens in terms of which direction you go, you always want to be leading the ship. And so that's where we get a little jittery sometimes, because we're like, I don't like being told what to do.
Man.
But a lot of times it's for the best.
Yeah. I mean, where do I start, right? Let me start to like how I even get to this point mentally, right? So, everybody that knows me and I have we've been married, everything's been official long, probably 2 weeks or so before dropping the pictures or anything, right? So we've already been locked in. People are going to be surprised. I dropped the proposal video on a Tuesday, and I'm going to drop the marriage pictures on the Thursday, Friday. People will be like, where the wedding is. But it's been interesting space because, like you said, we're hoopers, right? And, we talk about the culture that comes with that. Being in America, being where, freedom is a little bit different. And just growing up popular and always around things and options and having things going. Is right. Just, you're just tall. You know what I'm saying? Just tall. It was never the focus, because of basketball, was always on the next rung, the next accomplishment, staying focused to get to the next space. Because, you tell me, everybody that's around tell me about how, being with the wrong woman or even young or making some decisions based on a fleeting desire could derail your entire life going forward.
Right.
And I always had you in the back of my mind, Uncle Ro telling me, look, you gotta be careful. So since I can remember, I always moved that way. Like you said, I gotta move the way I wanna move, how I wanna move. I'm gonna be honest about that. And then you get to the spot where it's like, all right, your basketball identity is dwindling down. You ain't gonna be able to just move like that. You ain't, packing the dollars of it. So, my aunt helped me. After I graduated college, she used to tell, I remember I tell the story all the time. She told me, she was like, all right, you having fun, but you want to run businesses. You want to have this and that, all the people that you're interacting with, could you call any of them to come with you to a black tie event? Could they put on a good dress and work the room and hold you down and be there? And I was like, I can't call so-and-so for that. She's going to scare people away. It's going to be a little bit too much. So I was like, still not no marriage stuff. I'm like, all right, cool. I go into a different direction and start to, you go into somebody that has the same ambitions as you, but then the same understanding of where, all right, I'm putting myself first with everything. If I get called tomorrow and there's an opportunity for me to go to LA to work, even though I'm in Virginia, I'm going. There's no slight against you, but you understand the space. But we're still solid. So that's where we were at. And then the number one focus always has been and still is building legacy, creating the time, your community, getting the money you want until you feel like you'll be able to take care of a family, right? And so that was still it. Even before I left, in 2019, it was no way. Not no girlfriend, not settling down, not anything, right? But I always knew that eventually I was like, this ain't gonna work, I always talk, and the more we got closer, and I would say each moment, leading up to me, I've always been a sponge. I guess you can attest to that, to where whatever I've experienced or I dealt with somebody, I kept those lessons. So with each interaction, with each relationship, I would learn something about myself, learn something about how to interact and communicate, and I would take it, and I would always be honest with that. So I think that's what got me to the point to where I could realize that, oh, all right, I've tried everything that they said I needed to try, and it wasn't feeling the way I thought it was going to feel. And then most importantly, being Muslim now is half of my deen, right? Like, we're all created in pairs. So finding your pair and then, creating that union and building that is half the religion. So thinking about how much importance, without even really fully understanding all of Islam, but just knowing how much important it is to have importance is placed on having a wife. And then you start to look at it different than back at the crib. I'm like, yo, if I get divorced and I become a millionaire, like she taking all my bread, I can't trust her because I've been in rooms seeing where, you might be talking to a girl and whatever, she got 2 boyfriends. I'm like, yeah, I can't move like that. But then you leave America and it's just a different everything.
Well, before you go any further, that could happen anywhere.
For sure.
It can happen anywhere. The bottom
sure.
line is, did you find somebody that you feel comfortable in any space?
Mm-hmm.
That you feel comfortable with in any space that you're in? That's the key thing. If there's any type of hesitancy in terms of some of the characteristics your partner may have, then that's a reason to slow down a little bit. But if every avenue of your relationship you feel solid in, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
But then the question becomes, and this is where people need guidance, right? Like, what avenues are you checking, right? Like, some of us are looking at the wrong things when we're looking for somebody to build with, to grow with. Yeah. Or some of us aren't looking to build, to grow anyway. You think you're supposed to come as a complete package already, right?
Well, if you're looking for Halle Berry to walk through that door with the money, the fame, the looks and everything, and you're expecting everything to be perfect,
right?
Try it again, because you see it hasn't worked out for her exactly. You know what I'm saying? Not to say anything against her or anything against her partners, but just because someone has the total package from the exterior doesn't mean that everything is okay in the interior.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta really do your research, and both of you have to get a chance to really get to know each other, and that takes time. Very rarely does someone get together just instantly and they're able to make it through the tough times for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Right. That's like, just to start there, right? What helped me is through my years of listening to you, listening to my aunt, my uncle, my mom, and then just learning, you start to adjust what most people say is on their list and what's important to them, right? Like, you start to understand that what really holds value is like the characteristics, your integrity, your respect, your honesty, right? Somebody that's being able to be reliable, and communication, right? Everybody talks about that, but we learned that early as basketball players, and that, those teams that communicate the best have the most success, because there's always going to be issues, yep. Right? And even within that, like, we go deeper within relationships, growth. Is somebody willing to grow and change? And are you going to be able to say that whatever this person does in the next 5 to 3 years, when they grow and change into something else, at their core, that person is who I'm going to love no matter what. So I'm going to always be with them as they grow, right? And they change. So it went from, I need her to look like this, and this, and do this, and this, and have this, and this, to where it's like, I just need somebody who's going to be solid.
Right.
Right? Like, and you don't get to that space. Sometimes people don't get there until they've let the solid one go 4 or 5 times. Right. But I wasn't going to miss out on that. Right. Because you right here, Uncle right here, right? And I got older men telling me, like, look, my uncle told me exactly, he's like, look, she got to already have, those things, because I fell, right? It's like, at my lowest point, are you still going to be there? Yep. Right. And what most people don't know is that Coach and I are at our lowest point, almost one of our lowest points. That's what I say this now to everybody back home that's looking. International business owner. Looks like I'm living in Dubai.
You were puffing a cigar the other day.
Puffing a cigar,
yeah.
Right? That was a celebratory time because I was in. So it looks like life is lit, right? But this woman that I'm about to marry, man, she hasn't looked at me or batted an eye like about anything other than just the human being that I am. Right? I don't have the money that I thought I was going to have. I'm not anywhere near any of those things, but it didn't make a difference. Right? Talking about being locked down here in the pandemic and, finding out who she is and who I am in the midst of troubles. Like our situation starts like there. It's not like I just woke up and I was like, low passport, blah, 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 or nothing. Like we really went through the fire. What most people will go through in like 4 years, we went through in like 8 to 9 months. And I don't have anything, but that's when you start to learn that you can be rich in other ways.
Right.
And those things are never going to go, right? Like, you balance your spiritual, your mental, your physical, and all those things are solid. And you can be a person of sound mind and a sound heart. That's what's supposed to be irreplaceable and invaluable.
I mean, that's all you want.
Sure.
Because, through the good times, bad times, if you have that, you get through anything, man.
And then we're here at this point, right, to where it's like how, like you watching me get to this point, because you know me since I was 15, 14, 15. You watching me, because my aunt would always tell me, because I was always like, nah, I'm not in it. She's like, it's gonna happen before you're 30, and I was like, nah, and here I am before it's happening. But you seeing and like the guidance you've helped me give, because I'm watching our folks, the youngest under me or some people my age, and I'm like, a lot of the issues that we got right now is because we don't have something solid at home, something that's deeper than anything surface level, something that like only you and that person can understand, and that gives you a sense of home feeling. Like, what were you able to see, and how were you able to like help me navigate through that space?
Well, I hate giving you credit, but I give you credit on this one. Where throughout the entire time I've known you, you've been pretty good in terms of managing your relationships. One, not going too far when you know that you're not that serious on your end. And two, just making sure you stayed focused in terms of what the task at hand was. And that the task for you was getting to school, getting your advanced degree, playing college basketball. And you never let anything deter you from that. So getting here to Dubai, I knew you were going to have some tough times in terms of deciding if you wanted to be in a relationship, because you would have the opportunity to come across some really good women. Mm-hmm. Because, there's so many different things that make, hoopers and really good people attractive, especially outside the United States, because it's like a mystique.
Yeah.
You're from the U.S. and, so people, want to get a chance to get to know you. But the one thing I saw when you met this particular young lady was that you were real meticulous in terms of how you approached each step. Mm-hmm. And, you always made sure that you took care of her in terms of the respect and honesty. And, I don't think personally, I really needed to do anything, because I think you saw it anyway. But I was just there to reinforce it sometimes, just to make sure that you didn't screw up and let it pass you by. Because, Coach Rowland will tell you, he's seen a lot of players that good ones pass them by. Yeah. I've been through some situations where I probably had a lot of good women, but I wasn't in a good space at that particular time. It wasn't right for me. And so now, the person I'm with now, it's, I have a chance to grow with this person at my own pace, and at a pace that she's comfortable with. And that's what, you did that, man. You came here and, you found somebody and you took your time to really get to know them, and it worked out.
Yeah.
It worked out. Like I said, I'd be damned if I was gonna let you pass this one up.
Yeah, no, that's real. And I'll say, you got to do a lot of work as a man to be prepared.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's certain things that they don't tell us to prioritize as men, and they make us put all of our value into something monetary. But I did a lot of work these last 6, 7, 8 years, just reconditioning myself, learning how to be a better communicator, learning how to actually listen, right? Especially coming from where we come from, where we lead everything, to where I'm still going to be the head of whatever else. But at some points, you just got to sit back and really listen to the needs of somebody else, making it a place to where they're comfortable to be themselves no matter what happens. And again, building and showing more so than just talking. Because that's what I learned from my mom more than anything. Like, I'm talking about respect that I want. I'm talking about the respect I'm going to demand, the respect I'm going to give you, the expectations I'm going to have from you, the trust and everything else. I got to show you those things first, right? And I'm not going to play about it. So there's a lot of time between like 2014 to now, to where shout out to Deanna Durham. She's like my college professor, and she helped me really grow outside of my shell when it comes to being in a relationship or just being with people, period. And understanding you got to have different tones, you got to have different temperaments, you got to have different levels of understanding to be in a relationship to where you're going to grow. And you got to make yourself humble enough to accept it when you're wrong.
Right.
Right? Like I probably always saved being romantic, being mushy, being really, really vulnerable, because I thought it still bothers me, right? Like it still was like too vulnerable, because I'm like, yo, I'm doing this, and if she does anything wrong on the other side to embarrass me, I don't know what I'll do. Because it's like I saved all my life to give this space here to where it's like you know how people, it's just like with business, when we're telling people we genuinely care about how well your child does, yep. Right? And then, but they've had 20 experiences where they heard the same thing and somebody burnt them. Yep. So now I'm like, listen, don't play with me. I don't open up this heart, right? I don't do that, but you're showing me. So when I do, this is how I'm gonna hold it down for you, but don't play, right? But I've had to get to this space to where you're only gonna find out if you open it up. Like, if you don't open it up, you're just going to be sitting there thinking about what if. So, all the young cats out there that's watching and seeing, I've seen a lot of guys saying, like, yo, you give me hope. There's more than enough hope. You just got to spend more time developing the man that you want to be, the man of men, as some people would say. And you'll start to attract what's for you. But most of the times, you're spending too much time focusing on something that's pulling you away from what you really want to need. So sit down and work on those things, because we got a lot of things we got to recondition ourselves about.
Sure. I'm glad that you finally started to open up and show your emotional side.
Yeah,
I like that.
Just for her, though.
I'm just saying, because
and all for the kids.
All these years you've been like just putting on this tough guy act. We all know you were soft.
Tough guy. Just respect me. That's all. You know what I'm saying? You funny. You keep throwing that out there. I got the video of you tearing up. You know what I'm saying? I'm just keeping it in the stash out of respect for you, man. It's okay. It's okay. It's all right. It's love. We here.
People that know me know there's no video out
people
there like that.
They don't know anything. Look, they don't know you like I know you.
Photoshop.
Nah, man. But those things are important, man. And like, I say this again because I want to reiterate it. Like, there's never a perfect time. There's never a perfect time to where it's like, I got to get this, I got to get that. Every time I've ever made a plan for myself in life, it never went that way. Yep. Never. Like for college, I had a bunch of D1 things, and I had a huge health issue I never thought was going to happen. This and that happened. But what I learned was to always be prepared for anything, because you can't control what you can't control. So you got to prepare for different things. So that way when the moment comes, You can see it clearly. So yes, I'm in another country. My mom wasn't here to see, I mean, like the people I love weren't here to see it. But it inevitably is my decision, right? Of course, I talked with them, they got to the space, but I got to the space to where I could understand that, all right, this is what's best for you. You know how to make decisions, because shout out to mom. She always put me in that space to where it's like, all right, you weigh the pros and the cons. You figure out what it is. So when it came time to the moment to where it's like, all right, the rest of your life, you've said your priorities are legacy, building for your future kids and their grandkids. And how are you going to do that alone, right? You got to have somebody, a partner with you. And even in the back of my mind, I was like, I need somebody that's going to grow with me and understand that I'm going to be ripping and running, blah, 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 blah. And I still need you to be you, blah, 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 blah. And I found that. And for fellas, if you don't have that 100K, 200K, 300, whatever number it is you think you got to have, and she making you feel like if you don't have it, you're not the one, she not it. She not it. Like, it's not even a question. You know what I'm saying? Let that go. You know what I'm saying? Let it go. Stick to what you know.
Yep.
Or you know what I'm saying? You can be like, a globetrotter, Rolling Stone. You do your thing. What you think? Little temptation.
Whatever makes you happy. Whatever makes you happy.
Nah, man. But also, one of the big things, and we'll expand on it later, but you should be intentional about what your relationship is centered around, grounded on. Like that foundation.
Let me ask you this. Do you think, had you not converted to Islam, that had been the issue?
Well, the beauty is that I was going to convert even before I knew her.
Right. I'm saying, so, but even if you hadn't, though, would that have been an issue?
What do you mean?
If you weren't, just say you weren't going to convert to Islam, would you still have been able to get married?
To her?
Yes.
No. So that dynamic is interesting too, right? When you leave the States, you start to see the other cultures around the world, and a lot of them are heavily based on tradition. And in Islam, period, a woman must marry a Muslim man. But a Muslim man can marry whatever because the children take the faith of the man.
Okay. So,
but it's different here, being in the Middle East, especially in the Arab culture like Dubai, to where, I had no idea what an Emirati was. And I don't know if you did before we got here.
No.
I had no clue. And I wasn't aware of the Emirati traditions or anything. There's only 1 million Emiratis.
Right.
So it's a small tribe. They're all about family names, culture. Of course, there's other things. It's like any other community there. But I know her dad wasn't all the way excited at first because she wasn't bringing home another Emirati man, because they want to. It's all about names here. They have this thing called a family book, to where they track everybody is let's say the grandfather, great grandfather's name Syed. Everybody that's born will have Syed in his name so that they can go back and see all right, your grandfather, he did this, this, and that, and all those other things. So they kind of want to keep that same Arabic culture to an extent together. And then the idea of culture is interesting too. So I wouldn't have been able to. And I know there was hesitations there too, because as an Emirati, you get a lot of benefits for being with another Emirati. You get married here and you can get a free plot of land. You can get a home. There's all these other different benefits that they do a great job.
You're a gold digger.
That's what they thought, right? That's what they really thought. But I'm an American passport, right? So it's there's nothing really that guys can give me that I can't get for myself. The most interesting part was, people don't really know America is 17 different Americas. Right? The America you and I grew up in and lived in is not what they've seen on TV. Right. Not even close. So, immediately she told me her dad was she asking people should I say okay? Because women have to get permission from their parents to marry them, and that's different. And, you know, she was like, I can't really explain that. You have to be around him to feel his aura and understand how that goes. But I've never been worried about that. Like, never. I know for some people they're always worried about parents and dads and all those other different things. But like I said, I spent a lot of time like establishing myself. You know, like not having basketball and having to like rebuild your own identity and figure stuff out and like see what really matters. Because now the one thing that made me popular, so to speak, is gone, and now I just feel like it's whatever. Now you got to reprioritize stuff.
Well, don't sell yourself short, because you know, I'm just making jokes about you being popular just for basketball, but you know, when you're outgoing personality, and you know, you can mingle with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people just got to be around you and get to know you. That's all.
Yeah.
You know, I had no doubt in my mind that you wouldn't hit it off with Pops.
Right.
You know, because you know, after 30, 40 minutes being around you, all those stereotypes will be out the window.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. Like, I never questioned myself. Like, people don't know, like, all through high school, all through the basketball time period anyway, I struggled with confidence, right? So sometimes it may look like that I was overconfident, whatever, because I was struggling with it, because there was so many times where when I was young.
Absolute asshole sometimes.
But look, because it happens, because when I was young, it was people around me as adults that telling me that I would never be, these are my coaches telling me I'd never be good, or they would never, like, they weren't helping me. So, you know, you got to figure a way to work that out, right? And so I learned to never, ever doubt myself, because, you know, I am what I am, who I am. So you either going to like it or you're not, but I know my intentions are always pure, and I'm going to be solid. Like, I know that for sure. My word is my word. Like, I know what I'm going to give you when I get off the bus every day, right? I know that for sure. So I was like, it's whatever. And then when it comes to culture, because people talk about culture all the time, right? People talk about, like, I think that was one of the biggest things is, like, your kids going to have this culture and that culture and all that? I always say, like, what is culture?
Right.
And, like, when you put that in perspective, like, what is culture?
Yeah. It's what you make it in your house. That's it, man.
Simple as that. Because you say, like, people say, like, you know, Arabs say, I want them to have good manners. But for us, if you're from the South, in the Southern hospitality, that's part of the good manners too.
Yep.
And if you're other places, that's just a human decency thing.
Right.
So I was like, the culture doesn't matter to me, right? Because most of the times people are like trying to be gatekeepers or something that was already just like a human basic need and desire. So I was like, it's whatever.
Yeah, culture, religion, everything should evolve around being a good person.
It's simple as that. Yeah. Simple as that. So I was never there with an issue. But there are also, like, when you make that steps those steps as a man to say, I'm going to marry this woman, because, you know, in Islam it says now you're her garment. You cover her, right? You are what protects her. You also got to be ready for those responsibilities too. And I would say that's where guidance comes into play. You know, being able to watch you, Uncle Ro, like firsthand, and the way that you operate, and the way Uncle Ro is with Aunt Lisa, and the way that you manage being with people, being with women, and handling responsibilities, that was big. Because yes, you got to work on yourself. Yes, you got to be confident. You got to work in communications. But you still have responsibilities as a man. And you got to make sure that you understand that when you make your decisions, it got to be centered around that household. Right? And you got to be able to wear it on the chin. If you got to do something you don't want to do for a while just for everybody to eat, you got to wear it. Yeah. And, you know, and everybody not ready to make that step yet.
Yeah, it's just a sign of growth, maturity, man. Just, you know, you create a bond with somebody. You know, you guys have to look out for each other. And being the man, not to say that a woman can't take care of you, but being a man, just there should be an inner drive within that makes you say, I want to step up.
Right.
Take care of my family.
Right. That discipline is big, right? That discipline is huge. And, you know, part of that discipline too is like, you know, let's be elephant in the room, like being with one woman.
Yep.
Right? Like, you start to, you know, this is a hypersexual community. and like just media wise, like
Right.
TV just make you kind of like it's kind of like desensitized to the act and like that connection and all those things. And then you wonder why like you're uneasy about certain things. That's just a level of discipline, right? I equate it to like there's nothing. We talked about this on the podcast before. Like I watch people and how they are with their significant other.
Mm-hmm.
Because that if you've made a promise to that woman that you're never going to break her trust, that's the most sacred thing. Because you don't go home with me.
Right.
It's usually not having children with me. If you can't manage that, how could I ever trust you
Right.
with anything?
Right.
Right. Period. And you're not honest with it. So you're talking about you people out there, young bucks out there. That's like I can't be with just one or whatever else. That's a discipline issue. How are you going to reach that goal that it is that you want to reach? Because eventually that's going to come back to bite you.
Right.
Somehow, some way, right? Tiger. Like you got discipline in one space, you got to have it in the other space, or it's going to come back regardless. It just is what it is, or just be honest.
I mean, it just comes a point in time anyway where you can't be out there running the streets all the time. That's exhausting, and it's expensive. It's just a point in time where you're like, man, look, I need somebody that I can just relax with, somebody I can count on.
Man.
And, I got to start looking forward to some other things in life. And,
Yeah.
you got to get tired of that stuff, man.
What would you say, like at this point, right? If you sitting with, we probably got another group of like college age kids that's moving around, right? Trying to figure it out on their own. Like, what is some insight you give them on these years, right? Like how to move while they're trying to figure themselves out and still maintain, that social identity.
I would say that they have to decide what they want to do for the next 10 years. Who they want to do it with, where they want to do it, and how they want to get it done. Because if you can't visualize what you plan on, what you would like to do for the next 10 years, and who you'd like to do it with, then you're going to end up doing the same things, and you're going to be 10 years older. And then you're going to get into a space where you're like, life's passed me by a little bit. Not everybody's the same, but I'm just saying in general, you can't, you're in college now, everything's fun. You have a safety net because you're in college. You won't be in college forever.
Facts.
And you got to start thinking about real life things then.
What type of conversations, and I'll answer this too, like what type of conversations do you have, right, after you get all right, this person's cool, this person's cute, this person is solid. But what type of conversation, what are like those imperative things that you got to have and you got to be like, all right, boom, 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 I need to see where you are mentally here, where you lack at here, where you're strong at here, like how do you get it? Because I got my girl, she yelled at me because I was like, I don't make decisions off emotion, right? So like, technically speaking, I kind of looked at relationships like a business decision, right? And, she was like, you can't do that with people. But that's just the two different sides of the brain, right? To where it's like, instead of me investing all of my money, I'm investing all of me, right? And however way we do this can set me back the next 10 to 15 or 20 years or whatever, right? And so it's the same thing with however I start a business. We start here. I am investing 3 to 5 years in the startup of this company for however much money is going in, however much money we're not making, and, opportunities that we're giving up. So if it doesn't work, I'm maybe shit out of luck, right? So beforehand, like I'm looking at all these things so I can make that good decision going later. Yes, the love is there, but I can't, love is not enough. And I say that again, love is not enough, right? Like I'm with my wife, we are friends first, right? We don't love each other all the time, but that's always my dog, right? So when love is not enough, and those other things got to come into play. Like, what are some of the things you like? All right, we got to have talks about this.
Yeah, one of the first things I've always, started talking about was one. how many kids you'd like to have. How would you like to raise those kids? Because my step pop was disciplinarian. So you know how I am. Like when I say do something, I need you to get it done, and it's nothing out of the ordinary. It's just simple instructions. I don't have time to explain to you exactly why and when I need you to do something. I need you to do it now.
Yeah.
And so someone who doesn't believe in disciplining their kids, probably wouldn't work with me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Let's stay on that topic.
Right.
Let's stay on that one because that is important too.
Yeah.
Because we do come from a certain structure, and then we work with kids daily, so we see what they missing with stuff. So it was important for me to be like, and then we're blending cultures.
Yep.
Right, we're blending two different parts of the world and everything else. So it's important for me to be like, look, this is how I want to do things. This is how we're going to do it. Do you want to trust in that? Like, how do you want to go? Blah blah blah. Luckily for me, it was all on the line. Like, of course, I want them to speak 3 languages. I want them to be broken down to this and this. But my kids are black kids, right? Regardless how anybody see it. Yeah. So there's a certain way that I got to make sure we're going about things. And if you don't know, I'm going to teach you, right? But this is how we're going to do it.
Right.
And so we definitely had to agree on that. And I never wanted kids either. But, you get to a different space to where you got to start thinking about it at one point.
You always talk about legacy.
Legacy is how you leave it.
Can't have a legacy if you don't have kids.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
no.
Another thing that I've always talked about was what kind of space do you want to be in toward the end of your life?
Like retirement?
Retirement, And that's my thing. Like, are you a person that needs to be out and seen all the time? Or are you a person that could be just as happy sitting lakeside somewhere, just chilling out, being with friends and family? You know what I mean? Because we've seen this a lot. Some people, no matter what their age is, they still want the hustle and bustle and being out and seeing. It's not. There's a point in time where you say, "I've done that, been there. It's time for me to relax now and enjoy family and friends." And that's what I look for, because bad things happen when you still run those streets after a certain age.
Right. No, that's real. That's real. And we've actually talked about that too. All right. Like talked about, and I was like, look, she said, I don't want to work all my life. Yep. And I was like, I don't either. But I also know that there's a difference between like not working and then still having something to invest in, right? So like 15 years from now, Hoop Mountain is still running, inshallah, I'll still be a part of it, right? But I don't have to be here day to day.
Right.
Right? So it's the difference between me not doing anything, period, and just sitting around lounging and just waiting to croak away. But to just having things going in motion and flowing that I don't have to be around all day. And then, I can still go do my thing whenever I want. So with us being at our young age now, because not everybody looks at retirement at age 27, 28, 29 the same way. So now I'm, teaching her what I've learned, even though, and that's another thing, even though I don't have money, that wasn't an excuse for me not to study finances,
right?
Not to get it prepared so that I know what I'm going to do when it gets there, right? Which is why we're starting our own business anyway. But I make sure I teach my wife too for everything. So now I'm like, all right, you say you want to retire at this age, let's do this, this, and this, and put these things in place, and then that can happen. And so now you can go have that house in Bali that you want, right, or whatever else, right? So that's big. Well, finances. And like when you talk about finances, you get into it, like, what is it that you're looking for? Or like, what type of...
somebody that's just financially responsible. You don't have to have a...
What's that mean, though?
Just that you're not going to be real frivolous with your money. Mm-hmm. You spend money on things that are necessities, but also you will take some time, some money to spend some things on yourself. Right. Because if you don't have any self-care, then you're going to ultimately die early anyway, because you're not taking care of yourself. But, whatever someone doesn't have at the moment, once you guys join union, you can always work towards getting that stuff because everything is easier when it's two people.
Right.
But just someone who's hardworking and understands the value of money and, wants to put away for the future so we can retire and travel and just live life.
Yeah, that's big because we're not having a wedding. And that was everybody's, by this time, you've seen our wedding pics, right? On the car ceremony, the Islam ceremony, they're fire too. It was great. It was a small gathering, and because of COVID and everything else, it'll be hard to get everybody together the way I would want to get them together.
Yep.
Especially being in Dubai. And I'm not in a rush to get back home, right? But for everybody back home, best believe we're going to party. We're going to celebrate, God willing, we're going to celebrate. We got things we're working on. But as far as having a big wedding, there's so many people I talk to, and even, like I said, I studied money. So like the idea of having like a $15,000, $20,000 wedding. I mean, my ring, and I'm going to update it though. I'm going to definitely update it. My ring was like $60 because I was like, it's more important that we make the union than getting something where I'm like, I overspend too much on this, and we could have been preparing to buy a house, right? So, I still had to compromise because you got to let your wife be your wife. You got to let her get glammed up, and you got to let her do her thing her way, right? And we did that, but I was like, we're not spending no big amount of money on a wedding because both of us, I have a list of 55 countries I want to travel to. She has a list of her own. So I'm like, we can take that money and do something better for us because we just spending money on other people to come celebrate us.
Right.
So we'll do that at some point. But for right now, just prioritize this. And that's how we're going to make all of our financial decisions. And it's easy when a partner one lets you lead that way. And then you've shown, so it's all good because I was like, man, there's no way. Like, there's no way. I'm not about to do all. You think about saving up just to have a wedding for y'all to come eat my food. Nah, we're going to party though.
And a lot of people get married and they're paying for that wedding years
It's after. Yes.
Bump that.
Yeah, it's not happening. So having somebody that can see past the moment to be like, yeah, you're right. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to build some wells in some underdeveloped countries. Mm-hmm. We're going to build a couple there, and then we're going to go try and travel a little bit. And then we'll double back a little bit later, and we'll have a lit party in the States where everybody can come with us. But the finances is big. And like understanding your strengths and your weaknesses and things too. Because, everything right now is like stock market this, Bitcoin this, crypto that, NFT this, blah, 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 blah. But like, y'all just got to find a common ground. Just like with sports, with basketball, everything. You find your strengths, your weaknesses, and you try to stick with what you're good at. Yep. Right? And then hopefully your partner can balance you out and do your thing on this side. So you guys figure that out together and make that work. And if you don't know, are you willing to learn?
Right.
Right. And so that's a big step right there for me. What about where does it lie for you? Like we talked about finances, we talked about retirement, kids. Where does it lie for you when it talks to like bringing families together? Right? Like how much of like family history do you pay attention to?
Well, I really don't pay that much attention to it because I've always been a different character where I just move at my own pace.
Definitely a different character.
Shut up, man. And I always just go, how can I say it? I live in the moment in terms of family and friends. And this isn't to be disrespectful or whatever, but I have some family that if I never talk to them again, I'm okay. Mm-hmm. And I have some family that I love dearly and I miss them, every day. But I got to live my life.
Right.
And so, I don't really put a lot of stock into past events in terms of family. I just think about what's going to be ahead and how I'm going to take care of my family and raise my kids. So I'm a little strange in that aspect. But of course, when I see my family, it's all love. It's all love. But I'm not a big guy. Like I've never been to a family reunion. Never.
Yeah. This is, shout out to my friends that are family. Because that's how that happens. Sometimes, blood doesn't make you family to other things. But like you don't question or like you don't pay attention to, let's say, your lady's relationship with her mom or relationship with her dad, or some things that go on between there that you see. This is causing to trickle over in here in the way that we deal with each other, and maybe in the past you've seen something like that.
Well, one, I make it very clear that I won't deal with that because whatever happens in our house stays in our house, and we don't let anything outside affect that.
Right.
And that's once we join together in a relationship, your mother and father, we love them. My mother and father, I love them, but we have to live our lives,
right?
Because they live theirs,
for sure.
You know what I mean? So we look out for them, but we don't let their actions and their thoughts and their beliefs dictate what we do.
Yeah, and that's really, really important when you talk about just how much information changes from generation to generation, right? Like, just talking about Emiratis, or even for my mom, like my mom was the 60s, 2022, 29, like it's different, right? And even and that's in America where there's way more information. So think about being in the middle of the desert and what their perspective was and everything. So that's important. But that's our new generation where, mental health is important and psychiatrists this and everything.
And mental health was important back in the day. We just didn't have a diagnosis for it.
Yeah, no, real. And like you really can like look at it and have more people that can help you and more terminology and things. So I have, and I would say because of the school I went to and the resources I had and the help I had, I definitely pay more attention to family dynamics. What it did for me was to kind of show like patterns. We talk about generational traumas, and like me, my mom, and my bro, we worked on so much stuff, like to be stronger together, like communication wise and everything, and kind of like let go of some of those other things that we were doing that probably were harming each other. To where I'm like, if I get with whoever I'm going to be with, they got to understand that where it's like we can disagree, but we're not arguing. Because I don't want to be living in a space to where I feel like you're going to make me get out of character and wild out, and you're supposed to be.
You do disagree a lot.
Yeah, of course, right? That's healthy, right? Disagree a lot. But it got to be a space to where it's like, all right, you got to understand that, let's say you're not confrontational because you never had the chance to talk. So now you just shut down, and I never know, or somebody never knows when, you're upset. We see that with little kids now because they're not used to having a voice to be able to say what's wrong or right. And just watching those things. So if what I did is like, if I notice something, I'd be like, yo, like, we got to work on that. Like, that's going to be something. So then I pay attention. And it's like, if they feeling like, nah, whatever, or they become, I was like, all right, I know I can't deal with that, right? Because I know for me, I had to sit and still do and be having to sit and be like, man, that ain't it. You got to get better at those spaces. So I watch those family dynamics for sure.
I mean, yeah, you're always working to grow.
You should
be. Yeah, you should be. But, thinking about, like, for example, there's some things that have happened in my family, my immediate family, that I see that are generational, and it's passed on from male to male. And, I completely refused to go down the same road.
Yeah.
And so, those are things, some of those things, like, I don't look at it, but I think differently than a lot of people, where I just say, I don't have to think and work on that. I can just not do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's just bottom line.
Right.
And so that's just how I approach things. And, going forward, like I said, it's the same thing in terms of religion. I just think of it as, how do I want other people to be treated, and how do I want them to treat me, and just how do I want to live my life? I know the difference between right or wrong, and I just want to make sure I'm a good person, no matter what religion, no matter what space I'm in, and that's the same way I live my life with my family.
And in the midst of all that, right, the core of that is you gotta be able to think for yourself,
right?
So, and that's even harder now, to where social media algorithms is really manipulating the way we think. Little memes, everything become popular. People start to have group think. They start to think that everything that they're saying is right because so many people are saying it. But I get to the space that I'm at because I was taught to think for myself.
Right.
You encouraged me. My mom encouraged me. Everybody, think for yourself because you're the only one that got to deal with those consequences at the end of the day.
Right.
Right. So when you talk about breaking that generational traumas and like making an effort to do so, like the same space where it's like, nah, like I can be a great husband. I can be a great father. I can be this and that because we don't see it. You know, you see what they did to Cosby. you see what they did to Cosby, man. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Damien Williams for My Wife and Kids. You know, you're a solid one too. You know, that's one of my favorite shows too. Quiet as kept.
Show's garbage.
Come on, man. You probably didn't even watch it. You more of a rerun.
Come on, man.
And Raj and
Yeah, I
all
did.
that.
Yeah, sure.
Little what's happening vibes.
Sure. What's happening?
No, man, that's solid though. But yeah, that's a little bit of what's been going on the back end. I am excited to go into the new year, married to the love of my life. You know, she got big headaches to deal with, but hey, you can't go anywhere now.
She's locked in now.
You're locked in forever in this life and the next. So, you know, I won. I won that one. I got it here. Before we send it out, you know, this will be the last episode before 2022. And you know, Coach, we've been saving that OG story time because we got a lot of them. But I'm going to let OG get into his story space. I don't know which, again, like last time, I got to give him my preface. I don't know what he's going to say. I have no clue what he's going to say. Anything that he says that's offensive to anybody or makes anybody feel upset, it is not a reflection of this podcast or myself. It is his own. Like he said, he's a weird guy who thinks in his own way, in his own manner.
First of all, I've never said anything offensive about anybody. All right, let's put that out there in the universe. Second, I mean, what type of, you say story time? What kind of story are we talking about here?
You know, you got a lot of them. You know, I think we got to keep with the same theme, right? Well, let's end it with a good one, right? I remember you were telling me a story about how you saved somebody's life in a car.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. And this is funny because I can't picture this, but he said he saved somebody's life.
But why is it funny?
Because every time I picture you driving on the highway, I picture you with the Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Talking trash to somebody with a donut in the hand and some OJ right there. So I'm like, yo, did you throw the donut out the window and then go grab him?
Nah. So this particular time, I was driving home. It was maybe about 7, 8 o'clock. It was dark outside, of course, wintertime.
What part?
Northern Virginia. I was coming down 495 and getting off around, what is that, Little River Turnpike?
Mm-hmm.
Come around that way. And I saw this car over to the side, like upside down. And like 3 or 4 Spanish dudes was out there. And I'm like, man, I wonder what happened right there. So I'm like, I got to get home. I've been out all day. I'm tired. I'm hungry, dirty. So I'm like, no, I'm driving. I go past. I'm like, you know what? Somebody could really be hurt right there. So I turn around, go, you know, the overpass was like 4 miles away. So I had to come back and I floored. I probably got a couple tickets too if I had been caught by the cops or something. And I come back, I park in the middle of the road, and I leave the car, flashers on, just leave the car running. I just get out and run down to the ramp because it's one way, and it's like 3 or 4 maintenance dudes trying to help this woman, and one guy has a phone. I'm like, what's wrong? And they could barely speak English, and so I'm like, dang. I look, and there's a body over there. I'm like, oh shit. So I go
a body in the car or outside?
Outside the car.
Oh shit.
Like she had been thrown probably 20 feet. So I'm like, man, she's dead. So I go up. I said, yo, is she okay? He's like, I don't know, because he can't really speak English. And so he had the phone. I'm like, he said, here. I'm like, who is this? So he had called 911. They had no idea what he was trying to say. And so I tell them where we are, what happened, who I'm with, whatever. And then I go over to the body, whatever. So I said, she still got a pulse, so she's alive. I said, but she's not responsive. And so I said, I gave him, tell him where to go. I said, I got to put the phone down. I got to do CPR. And so I started doing my compressions and everything. And I kept doing it maybe 7-8 minutes in the tall grass, in the bushes, basically. And then EMTs came, man, and they came up, they took over and everything, and they were like, let me get a statement from you. Want to get your information. You saved her life. Blah blah blah. If you hadn't done what you did, she may not have made it. And I'm thinking like, I'm just trying to get home. You know what I'm saying? I did what everybody else would do, I think. And so,
nah, you ain't do what everybody else would do. You did some blank man stuff. You a superhero.
Yeah, so they're like, they're putting her in the truck and everything, and then state trooper comes over, and I'm like, shit, I probably got some bills I owe. I'm about to get up out of here. So he's like, give me 1 second. I'm gonna take your statement after I talk to these guys. And I was like, you know what? They don't need me for nothing else now.
Yeah.
So I got in the car. I burked out, and so I'm driving home. I'm like, dang, it's just like a cold wind on my leg, right? And I ain't thinking that. I just kept rubbing it. I get in the house, and my significant other's like, what happened? And I said, you wouldn't believe what happened. Just crazy. She was like, tell me. So I told her, I pulled over, saved somebody's life, maybe, And she's like, what's wrong with your leg? I said, what do you mean? And I had my TC sweats on too.
The red ones or the blue ones?
The gray ones.
The gray ones.
With the blue piping.
Yeah.
And so I looked down like, oh shit. I had blood everywhere. Blood was like my socks, everything was soaked with blood. I had a big hole in my pants. And so when I jumped down to give CPR, I cut my leg on a part of the car that was over there too, piece of metal. So I had to go get a tetanus shot that night and everything. And, so it was just like a weird experience, in terms of me just coming home from work one day and here I am.
Look at God.
Yeah.
Because who would have thought you would have made a U-turn on the highway or the freeway, jumped out there. I told y'all last episode he was like Shaft or Blade. Look, I didn't even know he did that. Look, superhero.
Come on,
that's, man.
Anybody would have done that, man.
Look, a long applause. Nah, really though. That is amazing. I can't, man. You hear that, Abdullah? Think about in Dubai, seeing a car flipped over, right? Because I've seen a few of them.
Yeah.
I'm not getting out of a car saving anybody because somebody going to hit me. And somebody going to hit me. I'm going to make sure I call. But one of them buses with the staff going to hit me for sure when they drive.
I just think most people would do it.
Yeah.
If it was a woman, I'd say probably don't get out.
Yeah.
I just, I'm a guy, so I figured it would be okay.
Definitely.
I've helped 3 or 4 people in my life in terms of like people sliding off the road, needing help, getting, older people being stranded. Because I think about that could be my parents.
Yeah. And eventually it'll be you, right?
Yeah.
Where we'll all be just as we came in, we'll be the needy again. Yep. So, man, shout out to you, man. I didn't know. You see, I didn't know. I didn't know he still had a heart that big, man. You just never know. He only gets that mushy and teary-eyed when he sees pastries he likes. But, it's all love.
Wow.
That's a good example out there for all of you guys. Why you also need to pay attention to the small things. CPR, when you take that first aid class, when you're going through it, you really never know when you may need it or when somebody may need your help with stuff. So let's stay in. But, this is the last wrap-up of the year. How you want to send them away with the last post-game wrap-up?
I want to go with something I mentioned earlier, putting your head down and just work. Don't worry about what's going on at the moment. Don't worry about the success someone else has. Don't worry about the stuff that you should have at the moment. Just put your head down sometimes, give 110%, and eventually you'll get what you need to get done.
Facts. I'm going to end it with looks, appearances, wealth. That's not what's going to be most important. It's your heart. It's your intentions. It's what, when you go home and you lay down at night, that you can truly be at peace knowing that you didn't compromise who you are and you didn't have to step over or wrong somebody else in order to get what it is that you want. You know, being a good person, being somebody of pure intentions is way more important, and more of that is needed. You know, regardless of what people say, that's going to get you much further. So as we push into, you know, this new era and we continue this growth into 2022, let's put more emphasis on our intentions and our heart and our good deeds. You know, Jesse heard the story here from the OG. I'm sure he probably doesn't even know that he's probably been blessed 10, 15 times ever since that one moment, or maybe even something else coming. And that's just him purely going off intention and good deeds. So let's lead with more of that going forward. Be pure in your intentions, and let's prioritize our good deeds to people.
Why are your post-game wrap-up so long?
It is? That's what it was? I'm here to talk. It's a podcast. Let's get it. So, as always, you know what it is. Find us, Hoop Mountain DXB on Instagram, hoopmountain.ae online. We're here on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon. Amazon is getting up there. Get us on Amazon, YouTube, everything. Lock in. Watch this for the next 2 weeks. Happy holidays, happy new year, and as always, keep it real, keep it simple, and keep going.